You are the camera guy for all of these camera guys.
Great. Are they running?
Everything is running.
Great.
And
if something changes, I'll know. I can see the red dot, but I can't see if it's square or circle on the screens.
these?
Yeah.
It's red, so
Great. If it stops being red, I'll let us know.
So am I number 3? Oh, yeah. So where do I want my volume to be? Right where it's at?
yeah, that's
Okay.
good. See, I just yelled and we're about the same level.
Does this thing automatically volume adjust for each of us?
No, not really.
So I know
that's
that is something you can have as a function.
Yeah, it can backfire.
Yeah, because it'll pick up the AC and
pick everything
it'll
up,
adjust
yeah.
that up.
So it's very just, speak to the
It's a big one. It's a big fuzzy one.
Arizona is a wildly beautiful place, brimming with over 100 brewing companies. I'm Rob Fulmer, the Executive Director of the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild. I'm joined by Deputy Director Andrew Bauman. Together we cover the state, bringing you the best of what's happening at our breweries and beyond. Welcome to Arizona Beer Frontier.
So I don't even know how long we've known each other, like through the homebrew club, I'm sure.
Yeah.
BJ's. So like
Long time.
15 years? 18 years?
As long as you've been with the homebrew club, probably,
Yeah.
because I was pretty active early on when I was with BJ's. Is that my reminder to talk louder?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I don't
Well,
think
I mean, it's up now all the way, so.
Don't scream at it.
Yeah, you just like pretend that you want that person over there to hear a little bit. That's all.
It's a trick I learned from our old CEO from BJ's. Speak quietly and everybody leans.
Has to
They
listen
lean in and
harder.
listen to you.
Yeah.
It's like you only have to say it once.
Yeah, but no one's leaning into their radio when they're driving.
No.
I found that out. But it's been a while, and BJ's, and for how long were you at BJ's?
About 20 years,
20 years.
shy by a few months.
So you've been brewing beer for 30 years ish.
Yeah, 27 something. Yeah.
Where were you before
28?
BJ's?
I was a chiropractor.
Oh, yeah, but where were you brewing beer before BJ's?
Nowhere.
Oh, just homebrew?
Yeah,
Or-
homebrew. Yeah. I
Okay.
made beer at home, and you know the story, right? I kind of had a location in California. I wanted to open as my own brewery because all homebrewers wanted to open their own brewery, and had this vision of being a doctor and having a helicopter I could fly from my mountain house to the rooftop of the brewery, and then go back and be a chiropractor, and then do all that. And
It's like Barbies.
This sounds incredible.
It was a really good dream, and kids out there, stay in school and follow your dreams. Do it.
Get your helicopter.
That didn't work out for me.
Helicopter brewery.
I moved to California. The building I wanted, there's 2 buildings. One was the Fullerton Fox Theater, which is a really cool old building that had, before movies, they had plays and whatnot, and they had the dungeons underneath, and they had animal cages and stuff that they used for putting all the stuff on. It's just a cool thing, and they turned it into a restaurant. And so I was familiar with it throughout high school, going there occasionally. But thought it'd be a cool place to put a brewery in. And the other place was the old Magnolia's Peach restaurant in Brea. Cato Kalin used to bartend there. It seemed like a good place too, right at the mall there, by Imperial Highway and 57 Freeway. And so I started working with the chiropractor down the street. In his practice, he had a deal where he'll just keep 50% of whatever you bring in, and you don't have to pay rent. And I saw a sign on the corner where the Magnolia's Peach was, and it said brewery coming soon. Place went out of business. So went over there and saw the number on the thing. It was 2 BJ's restaurants, and told them the story I just told you, and the lady sounded pretty annoyed over the phone that she had to hear all that. And then she says, here's a guy to call. We hired a guy that's going to be in charge. So that was Alex Puchner. Called him, show up to meet him on site. He tells me all about it. Does not take me serious at all because I hear a home brewer from Texas. Hey, have you ever heard of Shiner Bock and stuff like that? Because we had Bud Coors Miller Shiner and Sierra Nevada, and there was the reason I homebrewed because you couldn't always find Sierra Nevada, so I had to make your own beer. And he was pretty annoyed by me. He didn't take me serious, but he didn't hire me. So he couldn't fire me. I just showed up every day. After about a year, they said you have to start paying him. So that was it.
Yeah. I know that's the old trope. You just keep showing up, and eventually they'll hire you. But things have changed a little bit with that. I mean,
yeah.
I'm surprised, like, because BJ's, they're one of those organizations that got their shit together.
They did, and it was one of the execs that was like, hey, you can't be back here if you're not an employee. And eventually this is going to backfire on us. So they gave me minimum wage, whatever that was, and clocked me out as soon as I started. They had me driving down to Laguna Beach Beer Company, where we weren't quite open for brewing yet, but we had our beer contracting at Laguna Beach Beer Company. So I'd drive down there and I'd bring all the kegs that I'd just cleaned and pick them up, and then I'd drop them off at the different BJ restaurants on the way back and do a truckload every day. And when I got back, they're like, oh yeah, we clocked you out like 4 hours ago. We haven't seen you in a while. Didn't matter. I was just there having fun. They gave me free beer.
So that the whole reason you live here now in Arizona is because you changed jobs through BJ's for the opportunity to brew in Chandler?
Yeah. So from Brea, California, I was there for not quite a year getting paid. And then BJ's was expanding. They were opening the one in Boulder, Colorado, and they were going to do 2 of them up in Portland, Oregon. And they had a guy with experience that they brought on for Boulder, Colorado. They decided to give me a chance in the Oregon store. So they paid for me to move up there, gave me $19,000 a year. And turns out you can't find a place to live in Oregon for $19,000 a year. But right across the river in Washington, where all the rednecks live, you can. So moved up there, opened up the 2 breweries, and the guy in Colorado didn't work out. So Alex basically gave me a choice. He goes, I know you're from Colorado. You want to go back or you want to stay here? And I really liked Portland. I wish I could have stayed one more year, but jumped on the opportunity, moved to Boulder, Colorado, and brewed in a brewery behind the bar, which was very different than brewing in a brewery that has the Goldfish Bowl glass. Behind the bar is, if you're doing your job right, people are complaining. And if you're not very good at your job, no one complains. It's weird. People don't like the smell. People are here to eat, and there's noise. That pump, can you turn the pump off? We didn't have variable speed pumps that just made a high pitched sound. We had just a big, loud banging pump inside this metal box that vibrated and made the whole restaurant shake when we. Even just the louder, the pump was full speed. There was no slowing that down. And so, a lot of complaints. And then we'd add hops, and everybody complained. So that was a little frustrating, but it was a really freaking cool town. Those who did appreciate it really loved it and made a lot of good friends up there. We were right down the street from the Brewers Association in Pearl Street, so got to be friends with them and had a good time. But then Alex called and said, we're going to be doing another one in Arizona. You're going to go from our smallest brewery with the least amount of space to the one with the most amount of space. So I jumped on that. Came to Arizona. Didn't have a lot of space, but that was the sales pitch that got me down here. And in fact, we built the brewery vertically.
He meant outside.
We built the brewery vertical, to save some space for more seats in the restaurant, but tanks on top of each other, and that was a fun ride. I decided to stay. The next one they opened up West Covina, and then they opened up Oxnard, and I just declined to go at that point. I planted some roots in Arizona and love it here, and this is where I call home now.
Wow, that's amazing. And then how did you get to this building? Because there's a whole nother journey right there.
Yeah. So it's been almost 9 years. Was it 8 years?
Wow.
2015, 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So Julian, it was a mutual friend of ours, Ben Vandermeer, knew Julian. He was going to be like so many people opening a brewery that needed to find a brewer, and he, I guess, struck out with all the brewers. He was looking for someone, and he didn't have to manage. Ben introduced him to me, and I agreed to meet him. I showed him around BJ's, and I didn't know it was a job interview. I was just helping him out. I was like, hey, when you do this, go with the 15-barrel system, because if you go smaller and you're successful, it's going to be too small, and if you can't sell enough beer to have 15 barrels fresh, then you probably shouldn't get in the business. And he's like, we already ordered the system. It's going to be built soon, and we're going to be big. So that's when he popped the question, and I was like, oh, I could never leave BJ's. They took care of me too much, and been with them for a long time. They paid me really well. BJ's is a really good company to work for, by the way. Just putting it out there. If anybody's ever worked for BJ's and you didn't do well, it's because you weren't good for them. But if you do your job and you're patient, it was starting at $19,000 a year wasn't easy, but they take care of people.
Yeah, there's a whole pedigree of people who work there, and
a lot of good brewers come out of there.
Yeah, we talk a little bit about how it was such a loss to have BJ's move their brewery out of the state, coupled with Gordon Biersch and Rock Bottom, because those. I mean, there's still some people who learned and worked many years at those places and went on to work with other breweries here, but that pipeline's kind of dried up, in terms of having that local presence, and and all of those places were open every day. I mean, I'm guessing that one of the reasons you knew Ben is because they were selling. Was he with Sierra Nevada at the time? Ben Vandermeer when he was. Yeah, so he's in and out of the brew house, or brewery, restaurant, and the whole thing. So those things are important for building the community of people we have today, and we don't have anymore.
Formalized training programs like BJ's, Rock Bottom, Gordon Biersch had formal training programs for their brewers, right?
We did, and then for our staff, we had to fly around the country and teach new restaurants what beer is and what makes us different than the rest. And we were really good at that. They still are. I haven't done it in years, so I'm rusty. But that's not my department here. Pedal House, we have other people that do that. So I think partly because I speak quietly, they just said just stay in your brewery and do what you do. So.
Yeah, no, I mean they had beer dinner programs, the integration of food and beer, just a huge menu, which I think was probably more of a nuisance for the staff than when you go there.
There's a lot of growing pains with that menu. It started to look like the Cheesecake Factory book.
Yeah, where
you start getting sponsors from your people you're buying steaks from. They take out a page ad in your menu. It's weird, but they were very, very focused on food quality. It was a big thing for them. They may not everybody that went there probably had the greatest experience, but it wasn't because they didn't try.
They'd always have a beer dinner, and it wasn't always for BJ's beers. It was whatever they carried, which is a lot of other beers too. Didn't seem to matter. It was more about creating the set of regulars, educating everybody, getting everyone out. I mean, we call them occasions, like getting them out on a Thursday when they normally wouldn't go out, or a Wednesday or whatever, just to keep everything moving and flowing. So
the beer appreciation nights, then we eventually phased those out, and just because we had menus available, people ordered food, but it became to where people drank a lot. And though that is the business we're in, we want people to drink, but we don't want to be responsible for telling you had to drink a lot. So we moved to that beer dinners format where we pour a limited amount of beer. Of course, they could order more, but it included a bunch of food. And we really built a following doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It was, they went from the first Tuesday of every month doing the beer appreciation nights to just once a quarter, because we had to do them, not just the breweries, we had to go do them at every restaurant.
It's definitely something I remember, because even when I was in this job and I had all kinds of outlets to do beer-focused events, people who remembered me from my old neighborhood would call me up and say, hey, we're going to a beer dinner over at BJ's. You want to meet us? And that wouldn't normally necessarily always be on my calendar, but because they felt connection to it. Same with Gordon Biersch. They would have they worked with home brewers, and they got they sort of kind of bent the rules on what kinds of beers they could serve there. That was Dieter. But I imagine it's one of the reasons that you've been called up to do so much beer judging is because of the value that the company BJ's placed in entering competitions and knowing your styles and being educated.
I think so. I owe a lot to them and the opportunities they gave me, for sure. I would be. It would be wrong of me to not say that the company I currently work for also gives me great opportunities. It's been a good life. I mean, we were just talking with someone the other day. The jobs I've had, like, what did you used to do? I was like, before brewing, I was a chiropractor. What about before that? I was a disc jockey. Did all the weddings at Knott's Berry Farm, and then moved to Texas and did a bunch of weddings down there. And like, what haven't you done that was cool? Like, well, the coolest job I had was working in the kitchen, the old spaghetti factory. That was the best job ever. I was a teenager then. It was great, but then started DJing. There's $50 an hour versus $8 an hour. I just had to go where the money was, and it was fun.
Yeah, I finally remember I was a bartender at Howard Johnson's in Madison, Wisconsin, and there was only room in that bar for one bartender, and you had to work with the kitchen all the time, and go in there early and just start making your own lunch. Nobody really cared, but we had to make a lot of ice cream drinks. Yeah, it was crazy. Like, I mean, I've forgotten almost all of it, but
it's a hotel, right?
Yeah.
Johnson's,
yeah. It was an old hotel, and it was like
it's also a character in Blazing Saddles.
Howard Johnson, yeah, I suppose.
Howard, wasn't he like the mayor?
Yeah,
Higgins or something from Magnum PI when that played Howard Johnson.
But yeah, I mean, the beer judging though is one of the reasons people who work at other breweries come to you. Also techniques, questions about equipment. When did you start realizing that you were kind of a go-to guy for these kinds of things, and who were the types of people that would show up? I mean, you get visitors from you were getting visitors from out of state, right? I mean,
we get visitors from all over, but as far as just to fix things and
just you're like, hey, I'm just trying to make some beer here at BJ's or at Pedal House. Why am I getting this? Why am I getting these emails? And when did that start to really?
It's that still happens, I guess. It was about 10 years ago. It started just, I guess, rumor got out there that I know how to find parts, and I can weld, and I can do electricity and all that. And I try to show everybody who I done that with what I do, except for the electrical part. I'm a little nervous about some people either shocking themselves or knocking a finger off because they don't know how to cut power before they change a motor on a pump or something. But just show people that's the best thing. If you don't want to have to do it for everyone, show them how to do it. And if someone's not willing, the same thing, like my sister used to want me to do the brakes on her car. I'm like, let's go do it. I'll show you. You can get dirty and I'll be there to make sure it's done right. I'm not going to do it for you though. always kind of been that way.
Sometimes I just need someone to just dial 911 and just hold the phone. I'm pretty sure we're de-energized here. There's no capacitors in anything I'm working on, and you just never know. It scares the shit out of me, electrical, but like
I'm totally comfortable with it. And I've had a few jolts. I'm going to say I don't always turn it off. Sometimes you got to go live and do it. The scariest one for the guys was this might be incriminating because I'm pretty sure this is illegal what I did. Trying to get some of our stuff out of Tempe when we were breaking it down to move here. Ladder wasn't tall enough to get up above the tanks, but I have to unhook the glycol solenoids, and they all go up to the wiring harness up there. That's the same thing that's supplying lights to the restaurant. So unless I'm going to turn the lights off in the restaurant, which if I go in at night, then I can't see. And our lighting system never really turned off. It just dims them. So you're always going to get a little tap. So I said, screw it, let's just do it live, and got on a wooden pallet, which is the safest thing I did, and had the guys lift me with a forklift, which is very illegal. This didn't actually happen. This is just a story.
Theoretical here.
Yeah, standing up there, and the guy's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I can't hold on to the railing thing. that's next to me
because they'll be grounded.
Yeah, I'll be grounded. And the wheels are rubber, but so I went up there and just pulled the thing off and found the wires that were right and undid the little acorn nuts, separated it, and put them back on, and just was careful. And all right, I lived.
There's definitely very low chance of falling off that pallet lifted up when you get hit with a shock.
Yeah, when you get a little jolt. I figured it was a 20 amp breaker, so I was probably gonna trip the breaker and.
Yeah, not as much arcing.
Yeah, I won't shoot across the room. I'll probably just flail my arm a little bit.
Huh.
Yeah, that was the last time I was like, none of you guys try this.
So you did particularly well in our last competition.
Yeah, we got lucky.
We have
a good team here.
You're probably lucky that you have a good team. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of luck involved in winning medals, though.
Yeah,
I mean, it can be. It depends on what flight it goes out with, and
so that was the exact same time we entered the same beers at GABF. So we just bottled off the same batch, labeled these, took them over to Huss, put them in the separate pallets, and that was it.
Great.
When 3 of 4 at Arizona and nothing at GABF. So I was pretty disappointed not really disappointed. It's every experience is a learning experience, and I'm anxious to see the feedback. What did we do wrong? And I was kind of chalking it up to GABF is 50 states and Arizona is 1 state. And just kind of said, 50 times more entries. I wasn't in there. Not to say Arizona doesn't have great competition. We are really an up-and-coming state of wonderful brewers. But, I was just eager to see it. And finally the feedback came back and went to round 3 of 3 and round 4 of 4 on all those beers. So it made it all the way to big categories, all the way to those. So I was like, all right, we did good. That's good enough. Can't market those because those aren't a win. But for the guys, it's like, yes, pat yourselves on the back. You made it to that final table. That worked out.
I think that's maybe what we need to always talk about in terms of what the goals of our competition is, and it is to get good notes. I can't say that we're there yet, but that was one of the reasons I was excited that you were participating both as a competitor and also as a judge. It's transactional, right? I mean, the goal for breweries is to win medals and get good feedback and be able to take some information and improve on their process, or validate that, hey, we took it this far. We're never going to do X, Y, and Z to get that medal because this is what we are happy with in terms of sales and the profile of the beer. Those are things that happen sometimes. On the other side, we're trying to train our judges to be better at identifying and using wording that is the most helpful, and developing a process that's fair and anonymous, and mistakes can be made, handling the entries themselves. And that's why we did it at the same time as GABF, because we knew they would be treated in the best possible way, because those entries are also going to GABF. And so that was the goal. Hopefully the process is in place that we can continue to get better at it. But that's really why having you judge and be a leader at the table and on behalf of the competition is super important for us.
Glad to do it. And if you know me now, I don't really day drink anymore. It gives me headaches. Judging, you only do that once in a while. And vacations too. I went to Cabo earlier this year, and that was amazing. I had beer at the pool during the day. Who cares if I got a headache? I was able to sleep. I didn't have to go to work. I just drink a beer, go to sleep. Yeah. Wake up, drink another beer, go to sleep. It was one of the best weekends I had in a long time.
Cool.
But back to the judging thing. I think you and I talked a little bit in Nashville over a recession special. It's a fried bologna sandwich, a PBR, and a moon pie.
And a bag of chips, too.
And a bag of chips for like $2 or $3. It was
$6.
$6, something like that. It was incredibly cheap.
Yeah.
That was a good time, but coming off of judging the World Beer Cup there, and you just explained right now that you have a much bigger vision of why we're doing this competition. I felt like, I see all my old friends that I've judged with, everybody no one from Arizona. No one. There was the guys from Four Peaks do it sometimes, and then me. I found out there was someone from Tucson there, but I don't know this person well. But I saw the judge list, and I said, "Oh, someone's from Tucson." Yeah, I felt like Arizona, it's not represented at the judges' tables, and I thought let's find someone who's qualified and develop them and make a recommendation. Find that person, and I don't think you have to be the best palate in the world to be a judge. That certainly qualifies you to be a judge. Someone like Michael Jackson, he could just do all the beers, and we don't need anyone else to do anything. He just does it, and it's done because his palate was so good. But having someone who can actually deliberate and work with people at a table, even if you had a cold, you would obviously not judge if you had a cold, but you really could rely on all the other people at the table as a judge leader. And I think we have plenty of those people in Arizona. And as we develop their palates and they understand beer a little more, they'll be able to fully integrate into this system. So,
yeah, I that is a third goal that we didn't talk about, although you and I talked about. Is there wasn't a pipeline to get people to national competitions, and it seemed like there was just as there was when BJ's and Gordon Biersch and Rock Bottom sort of left, and I think the Four Peaks folks kind of felt a little detached, but they were saying, "Hey, who's coming up behind us?" And there wasn't anyone there. There was no there. And so that was concerning, and I'm glad you remembered that, and I'm glad you brought it up again, because it is we like winning the medals, but there's a whole lot of other work that could be done for the greater good of everybody if we can continue to hone our competition on the back end and get those recommendations and get people excited about it again. I don't know the last time you went to the actual Great American Beer Fest, but
it's been a long time.
The attendance was a little down. I think they're going to make some changes. I'm hoping they eliminate the last session on Saturday night, and they encourage brewers to stick around on Saturday and hang out with their teams and go out on the town when they win their medals. There's got to be a balance. Instead of everyone sort of bailing after they've done judging or leaving on Friday night or missing half the awards. We'll see.
My perspective of the GABF as a brewer, and I stopped going into the competition years ago, unless I had to if we had a booth. But we either won medals or we didn't, and there was a lot of celebrating. You see the guys, they're beating their chests, and that's cool. They should do that because they earned it. But I go up there, and if I won a medal and none of the other brewers, BJ's won one, it's a pretty somber day. They valued medals heavily working for that company, and it affects your job rating. So there was pressure, and for one person to get it and the rest not get it, guess who's having the party? It was like the Titanic. The poor people had more fun that night. They went out and they drank some whiskey, and they said, "Fuck it." They went and had a good time, and there's me like, well, I guess I want a medal, but I'm the asshole in the group. So I learned immediately, when you come off the stage, just take your picture around your neck, but put that thing in your pocket. If someone in your team's excited, hand it to them, let them wear it and be excited. But it does. There's a lot of anxiety involved in a lot of these, especially the people that are really beating their chests. I imagine the years that they don't win it is pretty rough on them. They, especially if they're used to winning, they make a lot of ruckus. So I think there is that, and there's a little bit of pain involved, which is what makes the victory sweeter. But
sure, I
think that might play into some of these brewers getting older and just not really going to the award ceremony. Just like, I'll find out about it later.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of superstition involved with it as well for some people. They don't even want people to know that they entered it all or what they entered. I get that, and
I can see that. Yeah,
we feel it. Like I've been there when we won one medal. I don't think we've ever been shut out, but the one medal win, especially given that we're used to having multiple breweries win or breweries winning one or two. There's been a couple of years where I'm pretty sure, Four Peaks or maybe Lumberyard was close to, the small brewery of the year or whatever the point values were. It had to have been close. I thought Run House was going to get it this year because they held them up on the before they got on the stage, and I'm like, oh, this could be good. They're going to get a medal, and they're going to get like the guys from Cargill up there with a trophy, but it didn't happen.
Such a great brewery, Run House. I was just talking about them we just hired a branding guy to figure out who we are and maybe come up with some logos that we can put on T-shirts or cans. And we were trying to talk about who we are and all that, and so what comes up is what beers do you like outside of Pedal House? So first one I was like, Run House, Goldwater. Those are great, and they now have tasting rooms near me, so I can visit them. There are all so many great breweries, but those are two that I got a lot of respect for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super lucky that they both put ones close to me.
Yeah,
I'm sure they were totally inspired by all the hard work you have done.
They said, let's make sure we're close to Doc.
Doc spends way too much time at that dive bar by his house. Let's put something
Let's help him out.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think we should take a quick break.
That's a good idea.
And then we'll get after it.
Cool. We're officially broken.
One of the things that we didn't do is Andrew Bauman.
Hey, Rob. I didn't even know if that came out right.
I don't know.
Are we back from our break now?
We are back from our break.
Great.
We always have to do the Andrew Bauman.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, Rob.
Yes.
I'm Hey, Rob, and he's Andrew Bauman. Yeah, I don't.
It's one of the rules.
And we didn't even introduce our guest.
We didn't do anything.
I know.
We
just
barely
started.
started.
It's all right.
We know who he is. What's the big deal?
Right. We start now.
Hey,
Right.
this
Well,
is,
we know Derek Osborne, and we know why he's called Doc. Everybody should know that. Go back to the first part of the
the podcast you just listened to.
chiropractor Doc. No one ever called you DJ when you were a chiropractor, though. It's like, hey, it's DJ.
No, it was when I was DJing is how I got the nickname Doc, because there was another guy named Derek that was with the same company, and contracts would have the requested person to do it. And so, they just put the chalkboard with the contract and say Doc or Derek. And I wasn't Derek. So, the guy that owned the company, he was like, hey, man, you're going to chiropractor school, so we're going to call you Doc. That was it.
Oh, I thought
There
that
you
happened
go.
at BJ, so all right, great.
No, I had other nicknames at BJ's. I was like, it's Doc. Cave slave, cellar dweller, all the demeaning keg boy. I was keg boy first.
Yeah. So we were just on the break talking a little bit about Pedal House, and it's. I don't know. Did we mention even Julian, the restaurateur Julian?
Why don't we start the story?
Yeah. Well, I'm just okay. So
He knows the story better than you.
Well, he talked about Julian.
Yes.
Yeah,
I wanted to just check and see if we talked about him. Yeah, we did.
Okay.
So.
Great.
It's weird because none of us have a good memory when we're drinking LaCroix.
The bubbles go right to your head.
Yeah, as soon as we drink beer, we're sharp again.
Yeah, no. So we talked about how you were courted. You were courted.
Yeah. It was,
If I recall,
I'm glad it happened because now I grew. I'm part of a different company, and life's good.
if I recall, the vision that, as explained by Julian, was to do more of the things you're actually doing now, which is lagers, maybe not the Belgians, because that was on his mind at the time.
He wanted, when he recruited me, he says, we're going to do European lagers and Belgians, but no IPAs.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I wasn't very good at lagers, but I wanted to learn. I'm like, that's the next challenge. So I've done plenty of Belgians, and all right, let's do it. But within a couple of weeks of being open, this is the same people walking in the door just to be a jerk. Walk in, you got an IPA yet? Nope. Oh, see ya. Enough feedback from the managers, like, can you do our own? We're like, we have 96 handles. We have plenty of IPAs on that other people do. I was coming off that rough couple of years of hops where you couldn't get hops, and I was like, okay, because we don't have anything contracted anyway, so we're good. Yeah, so came to me one day and it's like, I think we're going to have to do an IPA. And I was like, I got a recipe. I already wrote it.
I'm ready.
I wrote it. Call Santan, call Huss. Like, you got any good hops you can spare? I'll buy them, because I didn't have a line on good hops yet. We had a couple of years where we contracted and got stuck with a lot of unfavorable hops. It was not pleasant.
Yeah, there's a lot of hops went to die in brewers' refrigerators.
Yeah.
Because, when you have the supply chain shut off and then you have access, you kind of overdo it. And so you were the one that turned me on to Timothy Taylor's Landlord, I think.
Yeah, Golden Promise and Golden Hops.
Yes.
Did you go to the thing in Washington at the consulate?
I did not get to go to that,
Okay,
but I've sought it out since when I've gone to the UK.
What are you guys talking about?
Timothy Taylor's Landlord is it an English pale ale? No.
I don't know. I didn't even know it was called Landlord. I just called it Timmy Taylor.
Yeah, no, it's so it's Golden Promise, and
it's a single malt, single hop, beautiful beer.
Very fruity, biscuity at the same time.
Man, I love Golden Promise.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's you. I think for a hot minute, it was available at like Whole Foods in there by the bottle. So anytime I see it, which is not very often, it's definitely I know what I'm drinking now for the rest of my time. I'm at that establishment.
Interesting beer.
But you just said you weren't very good at lagers. What did you consider yourself really good at, and what are the kinds of beers that you drink, or whose other beers, styles, what inspires you?
At that time I drank pretty much Sierra Nevada Pale Ale like every other brewer in the world. That was the beer you drink. Strange that style has died off so much. That was the after work beer for me and my wife and everybody else we knew.
It's coming back.
Industry. Yeah, I hope so.
It goes in ways, but yeah. I've seen it here and there more and more.
The company, weird how it's such a great company, but they kind of lost their original brands. They did so much better with the hazies, and I don't think it's that they did anything wrong or that the world turned against pale ales and the old style beers. I think it's just there were so many more breweries that opened that were pushing that, so they had to go with the hazy little lineup.
It's definitely a push and pull, and people have to constantly remind themselves who they are and what they're trying to accomplish. You talked a little bit about it, about branding, but so Pedal House has food is obviously a focus, multiple locations, having a wide.
Have you met our chef? Zach?
No, I don't think I have.
He's an anomaly. We don't know why he works for us. He came from a Michelin star.
Really?
Works at a brew pub.
Nice.
And the food's really good that he comes up with, and he makes it cost effective and he's not overshooting, trying to make it too fancy. He's just
lots of vegetarian and vegan options, gluten free.
He reads his crowd, and he's a nice guy. I don't know if you heard, our delivery guy came in and was asking, said Zach needs some hops. He makes a salad dressing out of Citra hops.
Oh, that's what that was about. Yeah,
it's a very small amount because they have to make it fresh because hops don't age in milk products very well. So
good to know.
They age like milk.
That's why they're not going to make a hop cereal.
Yeah. That's why our whey-based seltzers aren't going to be hopped, huh?
We found a place in New York that makes alcohol out of whey, a different yeast that chews through
lactose.
Yeah, lactose. So anyway,
I'd read about that, and I immediately thought, that's the end of that. I'm not going to bother reading more, and I'm not going to worry about it unless it comes up.
World isn't worth it anymore.
I'm fascinated by it, just because.
I'm too. If it comes around again, and I just heard about it a second time. If we get some more, we'll definitely. If it shows up, I'll try it, but at some point, it's going to end up on my, hey, can you make one of these? And I'm like, I'm just going to keep that one quiet.
Yeah, no, there's also the economics of it, which I don't think really are in anyone's favor necessarily, but we only had one of one, so we'd have to try dozens before we close the book on it as casual drinkers who have nothing to invest, right? We're not. Anyway, so those are some of the. What are the other things that that attracted you? What are the planks that Pedal House is built on that, as a brewer, you value? And you mentioned fresh beer, and I mean, go off on that like you did during the break.
Yeah. So I love Pedal House. Love Julian. He's a genius. If you've met him, he's kind of a madman. Don't always understand what he's thinking, but he does. He's got something he's going with, and it's always unique. And eventually, you see the vision. That created some anxiety at first, but now I've just learned to just go with it. It's his company, and I'm along for the ride, so it's always fun. So
the many remodelings and refiguring floor space. And
yeah. Coming from a company that we were so cost conscious to a company that, this is going to be cool. Don't worry about what we did. Let's do this now. And it's a little anxiety at first coming on board, but now I'm embracing it. It's like, that's who we are, I guess. Roll with it.
Right.
And you also this is a new brew house that we're sitting in.
Yeah, I love this new brew house. I got to design one. I got a hand in design the last one. He already committed to Newlands to build it, but the last one had a whirlpool and other things, and I kind of got, before they started building, I was like, you don't need that here. Like, you're wasting money on a brew pub with a whirlpool. So kind of changed things around. Did it my way. Added a mash mixer. We came off a few rough years of bad grain. Everybody's having stuck louders.
My name is Frank. I'm the head brewer of the Weinstefan Brewery, the world's oldest still existing brewery.
What Frank was doing out at Weinstefan, where he used a mash mixer, and I'd be like, why do you do that? Grain is so modified in the world today. Like, you don't need to do all the steps. And he goes, yeah, well, we've been brewing for 1,000 years, and we want the beer to taste the same all the time. So we break it down into the basic elements, and that really clicked with me. And I thought, I'm going to get a mash mixer. That system we designed, the mash mixer was also our kettle. So we'd do that. We mash in there. We go to the lauter tun, rinse the thing out, and then we'd lauter back into there. But the beauty was we had a mixer. So when we added hops, we could turn that mixer on, and instead of the whole neighborhood smelling like hops, it kept it in beer. So it gave us some advantages. I since fall in love with mash mixer. So new brew house we built with mash mixer and a separate lauter tun and a separate kettle. And the reason you'd want all three is so we can have multiple batches brewing, which today we're doing our first double improved lager quality. If you can do both batches in the same day, you get less aldehydes than if you split them over 2 days. So we extended our heat exchanger and a few other things so we can have enough cold liquor to do 2 45 barrel batches of lager in a day, and testing that out today on our Pilsner. And, so the other thing we have in our new lauter tun is, instead of a grant and the tubes, everybody who brews knows you got a tube that goes, a sight glass goes below the screens and one that goes above the screens, and you look at the levels in them, and if they change in levels, then you know that it's drawing a vacuum. You're running too fast and the screens are getting plugged up, so you try and keep, want some differential, because that means it's running tight and filtering the stuff out, but you don't want it to stick. Imagine trying to push oatmeal through a coffee filter; it just won't go. So, designed this one with instead of those sight glasses, with sensors above and below the screens, just pressure sensors that feed back to the computer, and it speeds or slows down a pump accordingly. So, pretty much automated it. And it took a lot of bugs to fix in the beginning. Trying to tell it what maximum differential, we could program it of how fast we want the liquid to flow, or we can do it like, what's the maximum differential you want, or just what is the differential? You just want to say, I want 1 inches of liquid different, and just that pump speed will speed up. And we've kind of found actually I haven't brewed myself in a long time. The guys probably figured out their perfect way to get the lauter through in 2 hours with that much oats and wheat in it and all that. So it involves a lot of rice hulls too.
It's you're using the word "we." You're talking about your team a lot, and I know that you worked with some folks to automate things, but the feedback you're getting from doing things is feeding into the automation, and there seems to be a lot more intentionality between this brew house and the one which everybody thought was awesome in Tempe as well.
I love that. I wish we could have kept that as our pilot, which it's going to go to good use. Arizona Wilderness bought it, and they're putting it in their new location. Hopefully what's remaining, because meth heads got to some of it already. So
yeah, I understand they had some vandalism over at their new location that they're building out.
I guess you can't
Phoenix.
insure it because it's not operational yet. So that was rough to hear about that. But the good news is they're going to get a brand new glycol chiller instead of my 8-year-old glycol chiller that they purchased.
Oh yeah,
So come with new warranties.
Yeah.
but how many folks do you have working in the brew house these days?
We got 3. So we got John and Derek Hansen, Hansen Derek. They kind of rotate in the brew house and filtering, and we also have Tim, who works part-time Santan and here. He does a lot of their spirits and mixology stuff, designs flavors for Santan. He's a retired engineer from Intel, took the early retirement and just enjoys life. So when he's not traveling the world or cruising on a sailboat somewhere and enjoying life, he comes here and has fun. So today he's cleaning and filling kegs. He likes to do the kind of work I like to do. Mm-hmm. Like if I win the lotto, I'm still gonna either tear tickets at the movies or fix things. That's just.
And this increases your capacity, to what degree from your old brew house?
Quite a bit, mostly because we have more space for more tanks. We have a couple 90-barrel fermenters. We have a couple 60s. We brought all of our 30s over, and we kept 2 of the 15s. We could add more tanks, and we could brew 2 lagers a day and 4 ales a day. So we could pretty much fill every tank that we could fit in this building within a week. So basically, that would involve more people, obviously, but it's not terrible. The theory is that we double our capacity, but we go quite a bit more. Having space helps.
Mm-hmm. Sure. That's
something not everyone understands. No one's ever said, I wish I built a smaller walk-in cooler. Maybe the person that pays the bills does, but eventually you're going to need it, and the efficiencies go way up if you have room to put the old stuff on this side and rotate easier without pulling everything out. Or unfortunately, you go to some restaurants who the keg in the back is the same one that's been there since day one because no one's ever rotated it because you can't get to it because it's such a full walk-in. So there's that. The same thing with space outside the walk-in. We are just more efficient because we have space to drive a forklift through. And we don't have to use ladders to go on top of a tank. We have a scissor lift. And not only safety factors there, massive safety factors, but efficiency. Yeah, you don't have to break down what you're doing to make room for someone else to do it in the same spot. You just keep going and do what you're doing.
You talked a little bit outside of the podcast about how much beer you're making, where it's going, whether at this point, and we know never say never, plans change, but how much of that would go into self-distribution or a larger distributor. I know you had some thoughts on that.
Yeah, so my 27 or so years in brewing, this is my conclusion for anyone who's thinking about starting this. Once you go to a distributor, you can't really go back. That door's open and it's open. They're necessary. They are good people. They're a massive team of people that can keep your beer cold. We get it distributed to your accounts, do all that stuff that you don't necessarily have the resources to do, but they also are going to take 30%. There isn't 30% profits in the beer industry of making beer. There's more than that in the retail side. If you're open a bar and you're buying other people's beer, that's their investment, their problem, and their beer doesn't taste good, you switch to another beer. It's a great business to be in. Making beer is really tight margins. You can fortunately get equipment really cheap right now because there's another brewery going out of business every day right now in the United States. There used to be some used equipment because breweries were expanding. That's not the case. Breweries are going out of business, consolidating. It's a rough thing to get into, and if you you're going to do it, and if you can keep 70% of your sales retail and not wholesale, meaning people are paying $6 to $7 a pint instead of $130 a keg, which has 124 pints in it, you're doing a lot better. And especially if you have to give 30% of that to your distributor, and then you got sales guys getting commissions, and then also the accounts that they're going to push back and say, well, we get Coors for this much, why is there so much more money? It's hard for them to understand. Now, granted, if you're big like Coors and Bud, God bless it, you can sell your beer cheap, and you're playing a game of numbers. You sell 1 million kegs, and you can make $1 million. Small breweries, it's a real struggle. God bless everyone in this industry, because we're all doing it for the love, not for the money. But yeah, if you design your brewery right, you should be able to sell all your product within your zip code and not worry about distribution. That being said, we've just built a big brewery, and we're going to have to eventually look at that. We tried a Manuel Brothers, a delivery company, that they don't really do any sales. They kind of store it for you and bring it out there. And it didn't work out for us. They're good people, but we needed more control over rotations, and our own restaurants were wanting us to do the deliveries again, so we got out of that. We have a big enough walk-in here to where we can, and we have a refrigerated truck, so we can do it. But we won't be able to do the whole state if we decide to do that. We are big enough to where we're not going to be able to max out all our beer within our zip code surrounding us, so we are going to have to try and spread out a little bit. That's a tough one. If your brand, you want to see it grow, then you're going to have to let go of some of that profits, and you're going to have to really dig deep and say, is that stroke to your ego more valuable than the security of staying in business? Or do you need to, because you overextended the size of your place, and now you have to sell more beer, and you got to get out of state, and you got to do whatever you're doing? That is the path some people choose purposely, and it's just the path that some people end up on because they're trying to stay alive, and that's the last ditch effort. It's like taking a busy bar and adding a couple pool tables because it's no longer busy, but at least you can get those guys to hang in all day. You're taking a valuable real estate when you do that, but sometimes you have to do what you got to do to stay afloat. So now the recommendation I would have for anyone before they go with a distributor is really, really consider all your options first. They're going to be great. They're probably going to give you a little cash to do it. They're going to work with you. You will be their Cinderella, their flavor of the week, until they find the next person that's their new one. As long as your beer sells, they're going to love you, and you're going to love them. But at some point, everybody's going to try your beer, and they're going to be looking for the next beer, and you might have some regrets, and you can't go back. It's really expensive to buy your brand back from the distributor. So my recommendation is think twice before doing it.
The guys that sit at the table and push the piece of paper across the table for you to sign aren't the same guys that are on the streets selling. And you're right about there's in this state, there's always a new flavor of the day.
Yep.
It's a small honeymoon. So it is understanding who you are and sticking to it, and
bringing an attorney with you to that table
to
review the contract. Very important.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, look at the flavors of the day that come from out of state.
Oh yeah.
There's this new brand that everybody wants to put on, so they're going to shelve yours, but those are people that were desperate in their state. They can't sell their beer in their own state, so now they're trying to get out. This is the craft beer industry. I think the competition is good for us all because quality has really gotten better since I got involved. I mean, homebrewers make way better beer than professional brewers did back when I started. But yeah, professional breweries, the competition is good, but it's like the goal shouldn't be, hey, we're one day going to go to a distributor, because that is it's a double-edged sword.
Sure.
And they're great. And that being said, we're probably going to find one eventually. We've been talking with a couple of them, and so far it didn't seem like a good fit, but I'm not involved in those conversations. I think there's enough people that have draw a lot more water than I do with this company that want to see us available wherever they go.
Sure.
So they're eventually going to do it.
Years ago, I don't know if you remember, I sat in on one of your Julian's roundtables, and I brought in different people from different industries. I got to say a few things, but they brought in different distributors, and it wasn't a, hey, pitch us a deal. It was more like, what's going on out there? What are you guys seeing? And fact gathering. And so there's nothing wrong with having those discussions at all, especially if this is a very similar thing I see, because you talked about the ego, is, oh my gosh, a distributor wants to sell our product. And like, once that little dopamine bursts in your head, it's really hard to let go of it. It's the same thing when people they fall in love with the name of a beer or a brewery or some idea in this industry, and they cannot let it go. Oh no, we'll have a beer. We have the same beer name, but it's okay. It's not okay.
You know, it's going to bite you in the butt.
So yeah, it's the same thing with the distributor. Like I can't stress that enough. You got to get rid of that emotional piece of it.
And again, I just got to say, they're good people and they're doing a good job. They're
sure.
They are doing exactly what they're intended to do, but their job is not to worry about your quality. That's your job. Not to worry about whether your beer sells. That's not their job either. Their job is to sell the one that people want at the moment, and yours is going to be it until the next one comes along. And that is something you look at the brews that have survived over the years. The Sierra Nevadas, in my book, are still great. You still see them on the shelves at the grocery stores. One of the great legends we just lost recently, the Anchor Brewery.
Yeah,
used to be a staple for all of us old brewers. Now it's not even. There was rumor that someone was going to produce it, buy the rights to it, but
I don't think it's gonna be the same.
I won't share who that person is that was rumored, because I don't know if it's true.
Yeah, I just know I think I have 3 or 4 bottles of the holiday ale I'm gonna break out this year.
I have a couple Magnums.
Yeah.
A couple of those been sitting around. That was one of the, we talked about the beer dinners at BJ's, and we did, Anchor was one of the things we did it with one year. And they brought out a lot of vintage big Magnums of, I think they call it our special ale.
Right.
Got a couple of different years of that. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think we hit our time limit. And I thought we couldn't just shoot the shit all day. In fact,
I could talk more about a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to maybe save it for part 2, because at some point I want to get this easier to set up and more shoot the shit kind of thing. We do have the wireless mics, but we're just trying to get we're trying to get more of this kind of feel.
We should do it sometime with one of the. I'm not technologically savvy, but they have things that can mute out certain sounds.
Yeah,
you can train it on certain sounds.
Oh yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Wear a microphone and brew beer and go out and actually do it with the mics on.
Mic'd up.
Yeah, just talk about it while we're doing it.
I wanted to do that for the judging table, like, and heavily censor anything that might,
that's risky.
Be revealing. Well, no, I mean, it's the same thing that you hear in the room. I'd have to scrub it for sure.
Some brewers would know what beer we're talking about. When we don't know when we're judging what beer it is, but
right.
Sometimes the comments are pretty colorful.
Yeah,
and a brewer might recognize it because of something they did that they do on purpose and pick up on it, and it's like, all right, that's your opinion, dude. But
it's the same idea. It mostly be John Rudolph just directing traffic.
Isn't he good at that? He was amazing this year.
Yeah, he was. He in fact, he was the guy that helped you with your automation to some degree.
He did. It turns out he does that for a living. He's really good at that. He brought his team down to do it too.
Right on.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, I didn't even have pizza to offer him. We're just a brewery.
Yeah, we went down to Mexico with Weedy from Tombstone, and that's the kind of look and feel I'd want, but it was hot and we weren't mic'd up properly, and it was probably loud. But
did you go to that in the Naco to the taco joint?
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, so it'd be more like that look and feel. People would be bringing us beers. We talk a little bit about it, whatever. But you'll be like among the first on that one, because I know you'd appreciate it.
Let's do it in December so it's not so hot, because that building was hot when we went there in the summer.
Yeah.
This I can pull. I'm hoping to pull the fan noise out. What it's not really good at, which I learned when we did BRI, is it's not good at pulling music out, in order to not be pulled off of YouTube by BMI or whoever, the other challenge is you can tune it out, but then it sounds like we're talking to each other in a bubble, so it doesn't sound really good. So I think I can work on this. Speaking of YouTube, I just go to YouTube Academy and figure out hey, I got this loud sound. How do I get rid of it? How do I merge these two files? That kind of thing. So
I want to bet there's an app on your phone you can download to do it.
They're getting better for sure. Yeah, we'll see how this comes out. But we can do the brew house. It's just it's if the pump's on, that's fine if it's consistent. But
that's one of our quietest rooms. We just got a centrifuge. We haven't turned it on yet.
Wow.
So, we're not totally leaving. We're just gonna cut this off, and we're gonna take some B-roll downstairs and shoot some videos so that we don't have to look at our faces the whole time when people watch it on YouTube.
Awesome.
Right on.
Good.
Cool.
So all those times I was picking those.
Well, we'll get those.
Yeah,
you'll keep those.
Extreme close up. Yeah.
Alrighty. Cool.
Great.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.